Greetings, salutations, and all good things in between. What's up, everyone? Matt here. Happy Friday. Hope y'all had a good week. Get a lot of stuff done. Ready for the weekend. Got a lot of stuff planned. Should be a lot of fun, right? All right, so what are we doing this week? Well, this week I put out a couple of new things for the Patreons. I'm going to go over what I've done there. I'm going to go over some YouTube questions. There's a lot of really good stuff going on over there. I will be going over how you can create a continued conversation program, giving you the essence of what you've got going on over at ChatGPT inside of an AppSheet app. That should be a lot of fun. And last but not least, at the end of the stream, I always like to do a Q&A section. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll get to them at the end. Put your thinking caps on. Thanks for joining me, everybody. All right, let's do it. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to go over is just kind of a quick little updates about what I've got going on. Some of this is primarily for the Patreon supporters I got out there. So if you've been paying attention to the shared Patreon folder that I have, you will notice that there's a few things that are popping up over there. So just to kind of briefly go over what I've got. So there's a new script inside there that will allow you to get embeddings from OpenAI. So embeddings are, it's a really deep topic, but just really briefly, the embeddings are like the mathematical representations of words and how they connect to things in the paragraph or sentence or piece of text, whatever you're dealing with. And you can do a lot of fun stuff with these things, a lot of really advanced sort of language model things. So there's a script over there that you can use to get the embeddings for whatever string that you're using. It returns everything as a long text, just FYI. So if you use this, you will need to use split if you're going to use this inside of an AppSheet app to split the long text into an actual list. Just thought I'd throw that out there so everybody's aware. The other major things that I have out there is there's a new utility script. So if you're like me and you ever upload an image or a document through a record inside your app and you're using Google Sheets as your data source, you know that if you delete that record, the file stays inside the Google Drive. One of my patrons asked me if there was an easy way to handle this, and there wasn't, so I made a script to make it easier. So there's a new utility script. It's called File Deleter. If you look for that, there is a corresponding video that I released on Tuesday or Wednesday, can't remember, that shows how to use this and integrate it into your app. But the basic idea is when I delete the record, this thing takes that file path that's inside the file column or the image column where it says like folder, 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 and then the file name. It takes that thing and it looks inside your Google Drive trying to find it. If it finds it, it deletes it. There's some more stuff that happens. But that's out there to help kind of clean up all of that sort of stuff. Check it out if you want. The other big news that I've got is that I've changed the tiers that I am now offering over at Patreon. I have 3 tiers, and this is all about setting things up for the future. And these future plans that I have for the coming months of this year. So there are 3 tiers over there. There is Wanderer, which is the $10 a month. That's the one where you just simply get the access to all the resources and the tools that I've got. If you don't want anything else, you just want the fun stuff that I've got going on, that's the one. It's currently the one that everybody that's signed up, that's the one that everybody's basically on. It's $10 a month. Head on over there, patreon.com/MultiTech. Down there, right there. The other 2 tiers are more focused around providing ongoing support for people. So I've had a lot of interest for being a wingman, if you will, or a co-pilot for people's AppSheet development journeys. And this is my way of making something like that a bit more structured. So for $50 a month, you can have access to an AppSheet app that I've developed to help manage all of these help requests and everything. That's the student. The initiate tier is $100 a month. For that, you get priority response. You get exclusive voting rights. There's a few other things that I'm incorporating over there that will make that sort of level of support worth it. But if you would like to check those out, head on over to patreon.com. You can also go to my website. I am offering the same sorts of things over there. But those are the new big things that I got going on for what I'm doing. Let's head on over to YouTube and see what the comments are like over there. I've had a lot of really good comments come in, and it's been a while since I've gone through and answered some of them. I kind of like to let them pile up in a way so that I can address them here in the live stream. So if we head on over here to YouTube, all right, so starting off here at the top, so this question is about the shopping cart build series, and it comes from user, all of that. He asks, how can I add a product price, add a total price? Can you help me? Thanks. Absolutely. So if you check out the further videos inside the shopping cart series, that's the first of what I'm calling an evolution series, where I started with something and then I just kept progressing it over time. You are looking at number 5, and if I remember right, I think I'm all the way up to like 8 or 9, somewhere around there. I can't exactly remember the number I'm on. But one of the future videos in that series is adding prices into the blueprint side of stuff, adding prices into the actual order side of things with the total price and the orders and all of that. Yeah, so check out the further iterations of that video and you find what you're looking for. The next one comes from this most recent video I put out about how to do the file, how to use the file deleter. Someone is asking, make a video on running a sum on AppSheet. All right, well, it kind of ties into this previous answer that I just gave for user whatever whatnot here. If you go to the future videos of the shopping cart series, inside there is the specific one where I talk about how to add prices and totals and things. And so in that video, you're going to find there's a virtual column that I make on the order table where I talk about creating a dynamic ongoing sum of all of the line items from the order. It's probably what you're looking for. Head on over there. All right, we'll keep on going. The next one comes from last week's live stream, and it asks, can you add an online payment gateway to an AppSheet app, like an online shop? How can I? This is actually something that I've had a lot of people request over time, and to be honest with you, it's not very straightforward what you have to do. If I just take Stripe API, like I'll just take the Stripe payment platform as the one for the example here. In order to get this to work, there's some back and forth that needs to happen. You need to first configure an automation bot on your AppSheet app that uses the API, or I'm sorry, the webhooks aspect, and it throws some data to the Stripe API. Which means you got to go over to the Stripe API and get the documentation, set up an account, do all this. There's a lot over there that you got to do. But then you set up Stripe so that it can accept this data, and then when it receives that, it does whatever it's supposed to do, like it makes a customer. If the customer doesn't exist, it makes an invoice, it sets the total, it adds the line items, and then it emails the thing out. You see, that's a lot that has to happen, right? Once that happens, then you need to set up the Stripe API to wait for the payment of the invoice. And when that happens, to shoot something back off to somewhere. You could use the AppSheet API to catch it. You could shoot it to Zapier and then have that route it back to AppSheet. You could create your own Google Sheets API endpoint type of thing where it's like a script that's running on your Google Sheet that's like got an open thing to the internet that's waiting for something, and you can configure Stripe to send that to this, and then that pushes it into the sheet, and blah, 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 blah. You see there's a lot going on here. Now, I do plan on making a video on how to do this, but as you can tell, there's a lot going on involved with that. So it's not something to just kind of like trivially jump into in the coming months. Yeah, should be fun. The next one is how to get the details out of the last whatever. This is a video that I did a while ago that talks about, let's say I have an order with line items and I want to know what was the last line item that was ordered. Or a better one, I have a user and timesheets and I want to know what was the date from the last timesheet. That means that I need to extract the last thing and then get some data for it. Yep, or conscience. Yeah, I brutalized that. Sorry, man. Ass. Please, can I make a smart link shortener software with AppSheet? I need customer users dashboard per logged in user data analytics. Yeah, you know, that's actually something that a lot of people really kind of are looking for. The best option for a shortener is really the paid options for a shortener. Since Google kind of shut down their little free thing that they were offering for the longest time, really you're better off going, I can't remember, man, it just flew out of my head. I had it in my head and it just flew out. There's some places there's some that are cheap where you can create these URL shorteners. Go do that and they will have built-in analytics and things that you're looking for. Generally the better way to go. Moving on. So another one from a live stream. They ask, I would love to see multi-select files and images on AppSheet. To achieve the result I wanted, I had to write an app script to create a driver folder to set the image's file path and as part of a ref to the same folder path that is auto-created. So I can add multiple apps and then manage them. However, it doesn't work on iPhones because it doesn't open external on the Google Drive app. I would love to see multi-select files and images on AppSheet. Yeah, this is something that has been a request from a lot of people to make like the image column able to select multiple images. So I can just click on that and be like, yeah, these 5 things, go. If you're trying to solve that problem inside AppSheet, really, there is no multi-select solution for this in AppSheet. It's really still a one-for-one type of thing. What you can do is you could just create a child table. So whatever table you're submitting data into, you've currently got one column for an image, or maybe you went the route of you had like image 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know. The thing to do is to take those out and create a child table that's reference connected to whatever that record is, that this child table is the place to upload the images. And so in there, you have the ability to upload one image, but then I can create another record and another one and another one and another one and another one, right? You still have to do them all one at a time, which sucks. But it does give you the ability to upload multiple images and files connected to a single record. And then once you get that parent-child connection going on there, if you go to that video that I referenced earlier about getting the last whatever, you can do something kind of similar to that where instead of getting the details from the last thing, you do a list dereference and you can get all of the images or all of the files from those child records, creating a list of the images or a list of the files. And then it is what you're looking for, where it's like literally a list. And then I could pass that as a parameter to an email, or it's an array of images that I could send to a script to do something with or whatever. But yeah, like there's no multi-select single, like one shot, get it done, make it easy. A lot of people would love that, but you know, restrictions of AppSheet, got it. They are what they are. So another question from the shopping cart build series. This one's from the discounts and totals. So that might be the very video. What number is that? Number 7. That might be the very video that some of these people need to check out from earlier. What's up, Matt? Been following along your build series for a few days, trying to assess whether where I've been going wrong blindly. I've been out of the programming loop for over 20 years since I started in MS Access VBA. It sure has changed, that's for sure. Your build is a small speak at what foundation I am attempting to produce. I am an automotive diagnostician. I run the company solely, labor billing, inspection, service loads, expenses, taxes, etc. I have so far started with AppSheet database, but still buggy. And I need to get to here. Okay, let's see if we can get, let's skip, sorry, moving on. Is there any relational way to do this in AppSheets, or these headaches? The issue, I have parts, services, and fees, labors, taxes, and blah, 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 blah. I will need to somehow start my service record like your new order form, entering blah, 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 blah. What am I thinking is a category, secretary, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, I see what you're going. So you're trying to create like a service record. Shopping cart probably isn't the best method for that. The shopping cart interaction modality, however you want to describe that, where it's like, okay, I'm starting something, cool, add that, 5 of those, add this, 2 of those, add this, add. With like a service record, like what you're doing, you're probably better off creating a traditional table for that. That way you can just run through the service, because all of the questions are probably going to be basically the same. If some aspects are conditional based on the type of service or the type of vehicle or the year, you can create conditional sections inside your app, inside the form, right? So that if I'm doing a truck, I have this truck stuff that shows up. But if I'm not, then that doesn't show. But going through a traditional form like that is probably going to set you up for a better interaction flow than trying to get that shopping cart thing to work. The shopping cart thing is really for a shopping cart type of situation, where it's the type of situation where it's like, okay, over time, I need to be able to add things to this list and maybe put some specifics with it, but maybe not. Like largely the thing when I'm putting all of these apps out there, I'm not trying to create an app that's the perfect solution for the situation that I'm describing. Like that shopping cart thing is for like orders and items and like, okay, but that's not what I'm doing there. What I'm trying to show you is, hey, look, here's a record that's marked as active. Here's a way I can tap on these things and they go over there. I can tap on this and it goes over there. I can tap on this and it goes over there. Nothing to do with the topic. Like that's really not, I use topics because it's very difficult to describe a situation for software interactions in a completely like, okay, table A and column B and what, that doesn't work. Using a scenario helps everybody get on the same page and you can see where things are going naturally, because we can like carry the story of the scenario in our head and then we can look at what the app's doing and try and figure out how that matches. So don't take the scenarios that I throw out there so literally. One of the most common things you'll hear me say whenever I'm talking about AppSheet apps and building them is building an AppSheet app is like making ice cream. Doesn't matter what flavor of ice cream you're making, the process is still the same. It's just the flavors are different, the bits you're putting inside it are different. Maybe some of the parts of the process are different. It takes longer here, shorter here. You don't have to do that, you have to do this. But the general process of making ice cream is the same process no matter what type of ice cream you're making. AppSheet's the same way. The general process that you make apps, basically the same no matter what flavor of data that you're trying to record. So I would probably try and find a different app to look through. The one you might investigate would be the inspections app. It's a more universal app. It kind of has the same interaction style where there's this ongoing thing and I can tap on something. But instead of adding things to the list, the idea is instead, here's a list of stuff that needs to be done, tap on it, and then like answer the question for what you were doing. That might be more along the lines of the interaction flow that you're looking for. It's called inspections. Go check it out. One last one, and then I will move on. We'll save the rest for later. So this last one comes from the Enhanced Dashboard Sample app. And the question is, I have a problem. In my dash table, let's say I have the column worker that holds 2 names in 1 row. All right. The problem is the control box only picked value to hold 1 name, and the row holds 2 names. Is there any workaround? Yeah. Check your column type. So it sounds like you're using either a reference or an enum. Enum list would be the column type that you would want to use for this. You can set the enum list as a base type reference, and that will get you the ability to select multiple employees that you want to see inside that list, just like what you're describing. But that enum list with the base type reference, it's that base type reference that allows you to still do all of the like fancy reference stuff that you want to do. Check it out. All right, that's all I got for the question sections. If you have questions when you're watching my YouTube videos and you want me to further clarify things, respond. You see, I dig in. If you have questions for what you're working on right now, at the end of this, I will be doing a live Q&A section. Get your questions in the chat section and we will do it. All right, that's all I got for this. Let's move on to the meat and potatoes. All right. So if you're like me and you've started to use ChatGPT a lot, you might have encountered recently that ChatGPT is down a little too much, right? Because it's so busy. The servers can't handle what's going on and you have to sit there and wait for it, right? All right, well, if you do a little digging, you can find out the various models and how all of that sort of stuff works. Turns out the model that they're using for ChatGPT isn't even the most advanced model that's available over on OpenAI's API endpoints down there. So what I'm going to do in this section is I'm going to create from scratch an AppSheet app that will allow you to create a ChatGPT-like system. So it won't be ChatGPT. It won't have the thing where you can see it streaming the text because it's AppSheet and we can't stream things like that, right? But it will give you the ability to have an ongoing conversation with the history coming along with it, so that I can ask a question, another question, another question, another question, another question, and then way down here, I could reference something all the way back at the beginning, and the system has all of this so that it understands what we're talking about and it can continue forward. All right, there's a few steps on how to do this. If you look down in the description, I kind of went over the outline of how to do it. First thing that you need to do is you need to make a space to hold all of the data. Sorry, I'm in my Google Drive trying to find my space where I put all of my apps, and I'm making a folder. Here we go. Continued. I'm just going to call this ChatGPT in AppSheet. All right. So if we go, so here I am in my empty Google Drive folder. What do we need to do? So first thing I'm going to do is create a new Google Sheet. I'm starting from absolute bottom. All right, so now that I got my spreadsheet, what do we need to do? Okay, so there's a lot that you can do to expand this, but I'm going to keep things very simple in the beginning here. I'm just going to show how to create the absolute core structure that you need to do in order to make all of this continued stuff work. If later on in the future people like this sort of thing and they want it to become another evolution series, I'll do a part 2, part 3, part 4, whatever. We'll do that in the future. But to begin with, really simple. What do I need? I need 2 sheets. I need one for the threads. I need another one for the messages. Okay, so in the threads, what do I need? I need just a couple of columns in order to begin. let's see, so I'm going to do like thread start date. Sure, that way we can order these things. I'm going to give it a label, fill that in later, and then an ID, because everything needs an ID in order to work, right? All right, so now I'm just going to do a little setup of my tables because I like things to be a specific way. All right, so now I've got my 3 columns, and these are the things that matter. I've got a label, which I'm going to use an AI to fill in. I've got a start date and a thread ID. Really only the things that matter is like there's an ID. And you may be asking yourself, why even create a thread label like this, a thread layer inside this database? Why not just stick with messages? I'll answer that in the future in a couple of minutes. So this is the thread table. Let's make messages now. All right, so on messages, we need the, so messages, we need the thread link, obviously, to connect this to the thread that it belongs to. I need the message prompt. I need the message response. And I need, this is the fun one, I need the summary. This is the thing that's really going to make it easy in the system later on in the future to get the context going on. And summary is really kind of a misleading word. I'm not going to put a summary here. This is really just like a reformatting. So maybe I'll just use reformatting for that. Yeah. All right. So we've got the ID. I've got a link to the thread that it belongs to. I've got a place for me to type in what I want to say, a place for the AI to respond. I've got this, which I'll explain in the future. Maybe, okay, I want to add in a messages number, okay, so that I can find out, like, is this message number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? That'd be helpful to know. Yeah, that's about it. All right, so let's go back to threads. Let's start from here. So I'm going to give this a nice name of ChatGPT in AppSheet. Okay. And then I'm going to go to extensions, AppSheet, make an app. Man, I really like how they made this so easy. And I can tell you there's a lot of good stuff coming down the line in the coming months from AppSheet. It's going to make this even easier. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. So, hey to everybody in the chat. Thanks for showing up. Pablo, what's up, buddy? Hamlet. S4, Sean Makura. I still keep trying. You need to give me like a phonetic pronunciation of your name. I'm going to keep butchering it. All right. So here we are with our app, ChatGPT. So we go to our threads and let's make sure all of these things are the way they need to be. So the date is the date. The label is a text. I'm going to mark that as the label. The ID, if we go over here, yep, it got this as the ID, cool. And I'm gonna hide the ID, I don't need to see it. Cool, all right, so AppSheet did most of the work for us on that one, happy days. Let's go to our tables, let's add messages, boom. A lot of fun stuff to be had with what we can do with this, oh man. This is like the 4th time I've made this app. Just keeps getting better. Okay. In the messages table, so yeah, you can see things are a little wonky. So we need to set the messages ID as the key. So we'll turn that off. I'm going to come over here. We need to make this as required. I don't want to show it. And it needs an initial value of unique ID. Okay, so that's that. Number is the number. Reformatting as a text. Okay, this needs to be long text. This needs to be long text, and this needs to be long text. They're all long text. And the thread link needs to be a reference to, you guessed it, the threads, and we'll turn on as a part of, why not? So this thread, I'm going to make the label the prompt, and I'm going to hide the reference because I don't want to see that. I'm also going to do some other fancy things. For the response, I'm going to put a show if that it doesn't show it in the form if Let's see. And so hold up. If we're in the form and is blank this. So if we're in the form and this is not blank, that's what I want. And I think I'm going to make this an if. So if we're in the form, show this in the form. If it's not blank, otherwise. All right. Now I'm just is not blank. Period. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I want. If this is not blank, yeah, that's what I want. I don't know what I was thinking. And then the reformatted text, we can hide that all together. The number, we can hide that all together. Okay, the number needs to get a count of the related threads through here. So we need to save so we can get this related messages on the thread side. All right, so now that we have this, we can copy that. We can come back here and come to our number. We can go to the initial value and we can say this needs to be the count of the threads related messages plus 1, because it'll start at 0. All right, so that'll get us the number. All right, now to the reformatting. What do I want to do here? All right, so whoa. Didn't want to do that. Here we go. All right, so what is this messages reformatting thing? All right, so in order to get this sort of ongoing context type thing going on, what's really happening is we need to feed to the AI system everything that's come before, literally. So like question 1, answer 1, question 2, answer 2, question 3, answer 3. Like we literally need to put it in that format so that the system can easily see, oh, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4. Okay, so in order to do that, right, some text formatting things to make it clear what's going on. I've fiddled with this a little bit. These are the best advices that I can provide for making this work. Okay, so I'm on the messages table. And we go to the messages reformatting. We go to its formula, the app formula space. Okay, in here, what I need to do is I need to do a concatenate. And what I'm trying to create is I want to create something that looks like the following. So it's like Q1, blah, 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 blah. A1, blah, 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 right? And then I want like a line. And then it'll be like Q2, blah, 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 blah. A2, blah, 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 blah. And then that line again. You see where I'm going with this? The whole point of all of this is we need to create a way that when we generate the summary of everything, that we can get something like this going on that's easy to parse through, even though it's going to be very long. There's going to be a lot of dense context, a lot of dense text and everything. But like, this is the idea, right? This is what I need to create in order to get this sort of ongoing context type thing. I need to create this going on. Oh my word, what is going on? What? Stop it. Okay, hold on. Haha, there we are. My little thing. So in order for the context history that the API endpoint needs to have in order to understand, it needs to be in something like this, because this will be clear to the system. Oh, there's an ongoing conversation happening here. There's number 1, here's interaction number 2, here's interaction number 3, so on and so forth. This sort of thing is really the hard part when you're creating a system like this. Creating this sort of summary of what's going on, creating that in a clear way. Because sometimes inside the prompts and everything, you've got these sort of lines and you got line breaks, and maybe you put like a subtable inside there, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that could confuse the system, thinking, oh, we're no longer in the thing that we're doing something else. So you've got to force it to see things in this way. Okay, so this is the result that we're trying to get to, all right? Now, this reformatting column that I'm dealing with here, this builds not all of this, it just builds this first top part like this, right? So this is the part where I need to create the Q1 with the question, the A1 with the answer. That's what I need to create inside this messages reformatting, because that's going to get this little chunk of the chat history all in one little thing. And then over in the thread, I can say, cool, go get all of those and let's list them all. All right, so now that I've explained what it is we're shooting for, okay, this is the overall thing that we're trying to create. So I'm going to leave that here at the top of the screen so that we can use that as a nice reference, right? Okay, so Q1 with all these little line break things, right? So go into a quote, do a vertical bar, do the Q. Okay, that's the first part. And then I need to put the number. So that's why I created this messages number column, so I can easily get that. Okay, so do it like that, do it like that, go back into a quote, do the line break, do the vertical line, and then drop to a new line. Okay, and then here is where I want to put the prompt, right? Okay, and then back into text, do a line break. Okay, we'll do the same sort of thing with the A. Okay, we'll put the number back in here again, right? Okay, drop down, and then we put the prompt, or not the prompt, but the response here, right? And then that is our formula. So if we look here, right, we got Q1 line break, and then whatever the prompt is, we have A1, right, and the response. All right, so that's what we need to create. So get rid of all of that, leave this as it is. Make sure it validates, good to go. All right, save this, so that's there. Okay, now that gets us to the point to where we have, for each message that we send and we get a response, right? This message reformatting column takes all of that and makes that single entry for whatever this message is. Now, in order to get the ongoing history to happen, right? This is why we built the parent level of the thread, because now that we have this nicely formatted how we need it, we can go to the thread side and we can say, cool, grab all of those and make a list of them all. Let's do that right now. So on the threads, what I want to do is I need to create a new virtual column. And I'm going to call this thread history. What is it that I need to do? All right, well, I need to concatenate. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute, bear with me here, the related messages, and then I need that column that I just made, or no, not that I made, but this reformatting. I need that here, right? Okay, so that's the first part. Let me finish this one off. So separator is the space, comma, space, and I want to replace the space, comma, space with a line break, some of that, and another line break. Close the substitute, close the concatenate. All right, so what am I doing here? So this formula right here, the first part, this little thing here, that says, okay, hey, we've got all of these records that are related to, we have all of these messages that are related to this thread. Inside those messages, there's a column, messages reformatting. Give me a list of all of those values, right? So, and they're going to be in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Okay, so then that creates the list, but it's a list. It has space, comma, space separating each part. So that's where the substitute comes in, where I say, cool, substitute out of that list the space, comma, space. So take that and replace it with this little line break with a vertical, like a little line and another line break. So line break, horizontal line, line break. That's what it's going to replace all of the separators that are in the middle. So I'm going to have this message QA thing, and then it's going to drop down, put a line, drop down again, and then I'm going to have the next QA thing, and then it's going to drop down, it's going to put a line, drop down, and I'll have the next QA thing. This is going to create that sort of ongoing context that we can then feed to the system. So we save this. This needs to be a long text. If we save all of this, that is all of the kind of meat and potatoes things that we need to do in order to get everything set up. So if we come back to this order of operations, this things that we need to do. So we've created the data source, we've started this, we've created the ongoing history. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to create the actual script. And the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to use ChatGPT, because this is how I did it originally. It's amazing what you can do over there. Now, I spent some time working on a prompt that's inside the description that you can just take that, copy it, drop it inside ChatGPT, and if everything goes according to plan, it should produce the exact script that you need in order to run. So if we go to ChatGPT, hey, it's up and running, happy days, and just paste that in there and see what it says. All right, here we go. Here is the blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so inside the prompt, I've taken the all of the specifics. So like you want to use the tech divinity theory, there's 500 tokens you want to return. Let's see what this thing does. This is what's amazing, right? It's like boo, 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 boo. Like you take that paragraph that I gave you, go to ChatGPT right now. It'll be doing this exact same thing. Amazing. I'm legit, I'm just gonna sit here and wait. Oh yeah. It's getting all of this right. Token usage to string. It even did the string right. Oh man. Do you like it when things work? Yes, sir. All right, so here's my code that I need. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna go back to my app. All right, now, in order to get this script to work, you can't deploy the script as a script that's running as part of the Google Sheet. Can't do that. You need to create the script file by itself. All right, so the easiest way that I suggest to do this is to put this script file in the same folder that your Google Sheet is for your app. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back to AppSheet, I'm gonna go to tables, and open one of these, and I'm gonna say, view the source. So this opens up wherever source this is from. From here, I'm gonna go up here to this little more thing right here, or this move thing, right? Click that, and then this little thing right here. This is a little nice little trick. That went away. This little thing will open the folder that this Google Sheet lives in. So here you go. This is where it lives. And so right here, I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna go to more, and I'm gonna say, make a new app script. Happy days, okay? Come back over here, I'm gonna copy my function that this gave me, come in here, I'm gonna save this. And I'm gonna call this OpenAI ChatGPT in AppSheet. All right, because I have a whole bunch of OpenAI stuff. Save this. Okay, so now that I've got a dedicated file that is the script that I want to use inside my Google Drive folder that's associated with my app, okay, now go back to AppSheet, go to automation, and this is where we get into the fun stuff. All right, make a new bot, and this is gonna be get response. The event is new record. So the event is a data change. When I add, you can do adds, updates if you want. I'm just gonna do adds, not on the threads, but on the messages. And then the thing that we need to do is we need to get response, okay? The first task is a task type, and the thing we wanna do is call a script. We wanna call it on the messages table, and the script we wanna run is, and this is where you just do the search for OpenAI chat. There it is. That's the script that I just made. Wait for it to load the information and do all of this. There we go. Okay. Oh, you got to authorize the script so that it can run on your account. Yeah. Google hasn't verified it. It's going to blow up my account. Yep. Okay. Now that that's through, we only have the one function. And the prompt needs to be the prompt. Okay, now here's something that I'm going to throw out there. This is something that I've learned over the time of working with these things. Instead of just leaving this like this, what you might want to do instead is you want to concatenate this prompt, but then you also want to add in 2 line breaks, 1, 2, 3 hashtags, and 2 line breaks. Doing something like this, it's helpful to tell the system that, like, okay, all of this stuff up there is the prompt, is the thing that's going on. You know what I mean? So like, because that prompt is, I'm sorry, don't send the prompt. That's not the thing we need to send. My bad. We need to go get that thread history. That's what we need to send. Sorry. So not the prompt, come down here and we need to go, so not the prompt, we need to go thread link dot, if I come back over here, go to the threads, we have this thread history. That's the thing I need to feed it. Sorry, because that's going to have everything involved in it so far. All right, so that, because the thread history is going to have Q1, blah, 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 A1, blah, 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 Q2, blah, 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 all of that stuff, right? And so you need a way to differentiate between the system. Here's all the stuff I'm giving you, and okay, I'm done, it's your turn. This sort of line break, this sort of thing here, where you do line break, 3 hashtags, or 4 or 5, whatever you want, like just more than 1 or 2. And then a couple of more line breaks. That's actually used in a lot of the training data that they use on OpenAI. So the model is trained to respond to, that's the end of the thing, start typing in the answer. So that's usually something that I try and add on to all of my prompt things that I'm sending, because this really does kind of help clean things up at the end. Okay, all of that is what we're sending. We come down here, there's still a few more things to do down here. So we got to turn on returns a value, and it's going to return a string that is a long text. And if you look down here, there's a little code that you can copy. Like if you want to use the output, there's a thing down here that you can get. So come down here and copy that. Then create a new step. This next one is record response. The thing that we're doing here is we are running a data change, and the thing we're changing is we're setting the values of some rows, and it's the response. In the response, we drop in that thing that we copied, because that's the return from our script. And that is all that we need to do there. The thing you'll need to do is you need to go to your script, and there's one last thing, is you've got to go get an API key over at OpenAI and drop that inside here. That way everything will work. And so I will do that really quick. So the thing that you can do is you can just go to beta.openai.com. That will get you here, and then you can sign up for an account. And then when you do that, you'll be able to come over here and go to View API Keys, and then you can create all of the APIs that you would like. So I'm going to go over here off screen a bit. And let's see, generate a new one. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to open up a new file, new text document really quick, and save that just so I don't lose it. Okay, I'm going to go back to my script. I'm going to drop my key into that variable, right? So In your script, you'll want to replace your key there, right? All right, now I've done that in my script. So if we come back here and let's create a new thing, right? Yep, so here's my thread. Let's make a message. So what is AppSheet good for? Whoa! All right, you see how it's taking a while? You see how it's sitting here and it's still syncing? That's a very good sign. That is usually an indication that it's working. It's literally going and getting a response. All right, let's see. What did we get? Did we get a response back? Looks like no. Okay, why not? If we go back to our script, bring the script over here. If we go to the executions, right, we can see, okay, this thing says that it worked, right? There's no failure being reported here. All right, unfortunately, the script that it gave us does not have any kind of logging inside of it. So let's ask for some logging to be included. Include some logging along the way and a error catch should the response return an error from OpenAI. And this thing should give us an updated thing with some logging all throughout it. Curious why it didn't work. So let's go back to AppSheet. While ChatGPT is rebuilding that thing, let's go to the monitor for our app and let's see if maybe there was an error that was kicked back here. Let's see, ChatGPT. No, yeah, no. Okay, yeah, here we go. Failed app script translation type. List failed to translate to long text. Ah, okay. So if we go back to our script. Yep, all right, still cooking. All right, let's see. Yeah, this is my fault. I told this thing to return an array. That's my fault. My bad, sorry. The script that this thing produces returns two things. My bad. My bad, man. Returns two things. It returns your completion text, and it also returns the total number of tokens that it took for all of that to go down. I'll explain why I'm returning that in a couple of minutes. But first, let's modify the AppSheet app so that it can accept this array of values and then deal with things accordingly. Okay, so it returns this, if we come in here, right? So it returns an array that is the completion text, which is what I'm going to throw inside the response, and then the total usage. I don't have a space to record that. I need to make a space to record this. So I'm going to go to my sheet, and I'm going to go to my messages, and I'm going to add a new column that is messages token total tokens. Total tokens. Okay, wait for it to save. Go back to my app, go back to messages, regenerate the structure to grab this new column. Okay, so a token. What is a token? A token is roughly 3/4 of a word. It's what the AI system uses to conceptualize a word. And depending on the model that you're using over at OpenAI, each one has a certain number of tokens that are allowed. The one that I'm using for this script is the Text DaVinci, and that one has a token limit of 4,000 tokens. So you need to keep track of this, right? So as you have this ongoing conversation, slowly, you keep adding stuff, right? Eventually you're going to reach a point where you can't add anymore. You're going to run into that limit. So that's why I have that script designed in such a way that it returns not only the response, but also what is the total number of tokens that have been used so far. That way, when you start getting close, like when you're in the 3,000 range, you could start knowing we're reaching the end of this thread. We're going to have to do something else. There are strategies to manage that, and perhaps in the future I'll go over those. But for now, let's configure things. So we got this total tokens. That is a number. Perfect. Okay. Let's go back to our automation and let's change the response. So we go to our first thing, to the task, and we come down here and we tell it the return value. The return value is not a string, it's an array. So it's going to return a list. And if we come here to this little pencil thing here, we can tell the system what type of list this is. So this is a list of long texts. All right. So now with that in place, right? Okay, now we can come back down here to our record response. And instead of just dropping this in like this, like we can't do that. What we need to do is we need to extract the first thing out of that. So I'm going to wrap this in an index. And I'm going to say, give me the first thing out of this output response, right? I'm going to copy this because this exact formula is what I need to do in order to get the usage out of this. So I'm going to save that there. I'm going to add a new column into this mix where I'm going to record the total tokens. And that's the same formula, but instead of the first thing, it's the second thing, right? Because if I go back to my script that we got back, the first thing is the text, the second thing is the usage. All right, but notice the usage has been converted to a string. Why did I tell the thing to do that? Okay, turns out AppSheet cannot accept an array that has different types. So if I was to leave that usage, which is an integer, it's a number, if I was to leave that as a number, then this array would have mixed types. It would have a long text and a number. And AppSheet does not accept an array that has mixed types. So in order to get around this sort of limitation, I convert the number of tokens to a string. That way it's a long text, just like the completion. So both of these things are now a text. But that means that when I pull that out of the array, the actual piece of text that I'm extracting out is a text value. And if I need to put that inside of a number column, I need to convert the text number to a number. All I got to do is wrap this in a conversion thing. This is actually really easy. So if I go back to AppSheet and I go to this message total tokens, right? I go to this, right? So this would produce a text version of the number that's in there. Just think about it like the characters. So like the total number of characters was 500. Okay, well, it's not returning the integer 500. It's returning the characters 500. We need to convert 500 to the integer 500. How do you do that? Come back to your formula. You just wrap it in number. That's it. This takes whatever you're feeding it and it says, all right, you say it must be a number. We'll make it a number. And then that will turn it into the number so that you can actually use it for math. If you wanted to be able to like add things or minus things or whatever. Now you can do math with this. Okay. With all of that in place, let's try another test. So I'm going to copy my original message. I'll delete the record. Go back to my thread, start a new one, throw that in there, and let's save it and kick it off. Okay. Yep. All right. This is looking good. We might actually get a response. Okay, all right. When you see it chewing on something really long like this, okay, that usually means it's really working. Hey, look at that. So, all right, yeah, there's some, it returned a whole bunch of weirdness, right? Wow. All right. So, all right, in 3Q2, write a Python program that implement your own, what? Huh? Okay. Yeah, all right. Okay. All right. Whatever. Well, that's a wild response. I'm not sure what's going on there. All right, so the thing that I'm going to do in order to prevent this sort of weirdness from happening is I'm going to do some prompt engineering type stuff. So clearly that's not the answer that I'm looking for, right? That is not what I want it to do at all. So how can I get it to do what I want? All right, this thing understands language. So you can literally just tell this thing what it is that you're looking to do, right? So I didn't provide any kind of instructions. in that thread history. All that thread history is literally just like a list of everything that's gone down. In fact, if we go and we look at it, we can see what it looks like right here, right? So I've got like this Q1, and then here's my question, and then A1, and then this is everything that it did. All right, so how can I get this to where it doesn't do whatever all this crap is? All right, so I'm gonna go back to my automation. I'm gonna go to this task where I'm sending it to OpenAI. And I'm gonna come down here to the prompt, right? Okay, and it's inside of here. This is where I wanna add some instructions, right? So right now, I'm literally just sending it the thread history and then like this, hey, start your answer thing. So before the thread history is where I'm gonna put my instruction at bot. Here is the interaction history. Do a line break. I'm gonna do a little that thing, and then I'll do that, and then we'll put history right there, right? All right, so now, instead of me just feeding this thing just the history, right, with no kind of anything, now I'm giving it some instructions now. I'm giving it a little guidance on what I want it to do. Respond like a helpful chatbot. Here's the interaction history. And then that interaction history is gonna get you something like what we saw in here, right? So it's gonna be like Q1, blah, 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 A1, blah, 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 right? Okay, so like, but this is all gonna be empty in the original prompt. So let's try this again. I'm gonna come here, I'm going to copy my statement, delete this record, this is easy. Let's start a new thread again. I'll push that. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but it returned the total tokens too inside the field. There was like 300 or something that it used. Yeah. All right. It returned a service-oriented architecture as a style of what? Service-oriented architecture. What? Okay, you'd see, look at this. So look at the response that we got back. So it's got this 3 hashtags, space, and then a line break and a line break. Okay, so it's putting in this separator between what we have and what it's doing, right? But it missed the fact that I already put it in, probably because I don't have 2 spaces above this. I only have 1 line break. I probably need 2. Okay, so let's go back and reconfigure things, right? So we come back to here. Okay, I see why. I'm missing a comma, right? I'm in the middle of a concatenate, and I've got like all of this text with a comma, and I don't have a comma here. Yep, that's what it is. So if I do that, that should get that in there. Okay, all right. If we save this, let's try all of that again. All right. Let's try and expand the question maybe a bit more. No. I want to leave it. Just let it. What is AppSheet good for? I'm just going to keep using the same question and see what we get from this. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Oh, here we go. We got an actual legit answer this time. AppSheet can be used to create quick, powerful, and easy to use mobile apps to help you manage and analyze data, deliver actionable insights, and automate workflows. AppSheet helps you and your team collect, share, and communicate data better. All right. Now, the real test, right? The real test is, can we continue this conversation now? All right. So let's add in another message. This message is, how can I use it? So I'm not going to identify what we're talking about. If I'm running a construction company. All right. So in order for it to answer that question, it's going to have to know that we were originally talking about AppSheet. Because I said, how can I use it? It what? What do you mean, it? Okay. So if we do here, haha, AppSheet. Don't you love when things work? AppSheet can be used to help you with tasks such as managing and tracking employee time, creating customer invoices, tracking job progress and costs, ordering supplies and materials, monitoring invoices, blah, 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 blah. Oh man, don't you love it when things work? Yeah. All right, let's do a little cleanup. Okay, so come back here. So in the thread, I don't need to see the thread history. Don't need to see that. Okay, that's that. Now, on the thread label, I created a space for a label, but I didn't type in the label of the thread when I was starting it. It's because I want to use AI to create this for me. Why not? Should be fun, right? So like, I could use a variable option. Well, in fact, I could use this exact same script, right? But like, instead of adding in the instructions of, hey, respond like a chatbot, I'm going to give it some different instructions now. I'm going to tell it to give me a title. So if we come down here to my automation, all right, so the first thing it does is it gets a response and it records the response. The next thing I want it to do is I want it to get a thread title, right? So this is another task that's calling a script. It's calling the same script again. So OpenAI chat. Yep. It's the same thing. And the prompt that I'm sending it, all right, so yeah, the prompt that I'm sending this thing is gonna be a concatenate with some instructions in the front. So what do I want to say? Give me a short title for the following chatbot support thread. Right? And then I'm going to be like, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to feed this thing the thread history, just like I did in the other one. So I'm just going to go to this previous thing. I'm just going to copy what I have here. Probably could have just copied that all together, period, to be honest. Right? So give me a short title for the following chatbot support thread. Here's the thread history. Here's the response separator. Good to go. The response is going to be an array of long texts, right? Okay. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to copy this output thing. I'm going to come here, and then I'm going to say record thread title. I can spell title. There we go. The thing I'm going to do here is, all right, this is not a data change. All right, we're going to get a little fancy here. We're going to get a little fancy. So this is going to be a task, and I'm going to call a webhook it works on the messages table using the AppSheet API, which I need to go turn on. So I'm going to go over here to I'm going to go to manage. I'm going to go to integrations. I'm going to go to in, and I'm going to enable the API. I'm going to create an access key. All right. Back to automation. Back over here to my webhook I'm setting up. So through here, the table it needs to modify. We'll set that up in a moment because this will eventually populate with something. All right. The thing that we need to modify is we're modifying these rows. All right, so what do we need to do? This is where I just go back to the documentation and I say API edit. And this is going to give us how can we update a record. And what I'm really looking for here is like this. What's the format that I need to do in order for all of this stuff between this sort of rows square bracket thing? So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go and I'm going to open up a notepad and I'll put that here. I'm going to go back to my app. I'm going to copy this because this is pretty close to what I need. All right, and go up here and let's fill this in. So the rows and then all of this sort of stuff. So I can get rid of that. So now it's restricted to one row. I'm going to close the square bracket, and I'm going to close the curly bracket for the whole thing up here at the top. All right. So I'm going to indent this so it's easy to see where it is. All right, the thing we need to do. So the rows that I'm modifying, we come back here. Here we go. I'm modifying the thread record. So the thing I need to do in here is I need to identify the columns I want to set. Okay, so if I come back to my sheet and I come back to my threads table, first thing I need to do is I need to identify the thread ID that I'm dealing with. Okay, so come here. I'm going to change this to the thread ID, and then this is from the context of the messages table. So if I come back to messages, I have the ID I need to work with right here in this thread link. So I'm just going to copy that, come back here, and instead of setting it to this, we're going to set it to this sort of template variable thing. All right? I didn't expect to dive into how to use the AppSheet API, but okay, whatever. Come back here, go to my threads, and I want to set the label column. Come back here, change this so to the label column, and I want to change this to the output of my API, right? So like this thread get thread title has an output. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back to my API, and in here, this is where I'm going to say I need the, sorry, zoom in a little bit for you. I need the index of the thread output. I need the first thing out of that. Close the index, close the template thing, close the quote, and then I can get rid of all of these extra things because they don't belong. All right, so what am I doing? I'm editing, and then I'm going to get rid of these. They don't matter. I'll leave the locale. So I'm editing a row where the thread ID is whatever the messages thread link is, and the label is the output of my get thread title number 1, the first item in that array. All right. That, I come back to my API call, and I come back to the body, and I replace everything in that body with what I have there. And let's do a save and verify. Hey, look at that. Okay, so now when I submit my response, you know what I should do is I should throw all of these thread title things inside of a branch. Yeah, need thread title. So this will be a branch on a condition. The condition is blank, the threads label. Go back here, copy the label column, throw it here. So if is blank, the threads thread label, then I want to get a thread title. All right, now there's no way to like drag this up inside to this branch, but there is a way you can move this. So if you come over, click on the thing, go over to this settings to linking, turn linking on. All right, now come up here and make a new one where it's like get. I wonder if I can call it the exact same thing, right? Get thread title. And the thing that I want to do is I want to get thread title. All right, now that that's up here, I'm going to come back down here. On here, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to unlink this. And so now look, this turned into a custom task and all of these details are all already here. So now I can come back down here to this original task. I can delete it. I need to do the same thing for this one. So I'm going to click on it, come up to linking, turn on linking, come up here to my conditional branch, record title. This is a task that's doing the task thing here. Come back to linking, unlink this, and then go to my task and delete it. And now if I save these, of course they're broken. Cannot be used in this process. Oh, of course. Oh yeah, and it didn't keep it. Wow. Yeah, that usually works. Oh, that sucks. All right, well then I'm not gonna bother with that. I'm gonna undo everything that I just did. And I'm gonna leave all of that where it is. Ain't nobody got time for that. I'm trying to wrap up this live stream. Yeah. All right. Now we go back to my automation, go back to my response. All right, it'll get it. So let's try a new thread and just see if it works, right? So if we come here and we say, I'm gonna leave the thread label empty. Okay, I'm gonna go to this new thread. How can I use AppSheet to increase my productivity? Let's kick that off. So we should be doing a couple of things here, right? It should be generating a response, which we know works. And it should be giving us a title. Oh, look at this. Chatbot support apps assistance. Oh, look at that. All right, now chatbot support assistance needed. So you can see it's taking part of what, so you can see what it's doing there is the instructions that I gave it for how to formulate the title. It's taking part of the instructions and thinking that that belongs to what it is that I need it to summarize for a title. So there's some engineering that I need to do there with my prompts to kind of clean that up to where it's paying attention to only the things that are being asked and it's not paying attention to, right? You see how all that's going on. Obviously, there's a lot that I can do with this sort of setup, right? But you can see there's already the context that's being carried along. Happy days. All right, let's move on to the questions. All right. Thanks for sticking around, everybody. I appreciate it. Hope you found this stream helpful. In the chat questions, right, we've got something from S4NG_4. It says, greetings and salutations, Matt. Greetings to you. I'm dealing with dynamic value in a column. Isn't update date. My way out is to use VCs and use the value in the volume. There is another way to achieve this. Thanks. Okay, it sounds like what you might be working on there is trying to find a way to update a value that's in a physical column. So one of the easiest ways to get a dynamic value is to throw it in a virtual column, right? So best example I can give you is I've got an order with some line items. I want a dynamic value of the order sum based on the line items, right? I would put that order sum in a virtual column. I wouldn't make it a physical column. I'd make it virtual because that way, by its nature, as things change, it's updating. Now, eventually, at some point, you might not want that to be a virtual thing and you want it to be a physical thing. If you wanted to go that route, the best advice I have for you is to implement the current update. Update. There's a little brain fart right there for you. The best advice I have for you is to implement the quick update system. If you go to the community and you go to the tips and tricks section and search for quick update, you'll find a post that I made years ago with a lot of nuanced discussion about various different scenarios. What if this, what if that? But generally speaking, the quick update system is what you're going to want to use. It makes it to where you can push a button and it allows your physical columns to update themselves. Check it out. It'll be a lot of fun. Let's see. Pablo Silva. He asked me, how many hats do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then there's a whole bunch that I have in storage that I don't use because they're really fancy. Yeah, I'm always looking to add to the collection. Anytime I find some fun stuff, you know what I mean? I always got to add it. Thanks for asking. Keep on moving down. Let's see. Oh, look at that thread history. You missed a comma. Pablo found my my error in my formula. Nailed it, bro. Thanks, man. The infamous missing comma. Isn't that the truth? Man. Let's see. Is there anything question? Here's a question from Hamlet. Hamlet asks, "Hi, Matt. Do you have any videos on creating a loop for creating child records using bots instead of actions?" In fact, yes, I do, actually. There is a video I put out not that long ago. It was a few months now, but it literally talks about, if I go back over here, it literally talks about how to run, let me find it. It's how to use automation. Yeah, here we go. How to use automation to mass update values from one table to another. AppSheet explained. That is the way that works inside this video here should be the thing that you need to use in order to get. It's the same mechanism, kind of like what I was talking about earlier. It doesn't matter what flavor of ice cream you're making. The process of making ice cream is generally the same. Same thing with AppSheet. The process of making an AppSheet app, the process of implementing a certain functionality you're trying to get, the process is the same no matter what details you're dealing with, right? So trying to get child records created using a loop is a very different beast. But if you go to that video, some of the mechanisms inside there that are used should be the same exact things that you need to use over there. The difficulty, Hamlet, that you're really facing is the fact that looping inside of the app on the device is a client-side operation, which means it executes serially versus anything that's executed through automation, through a bot, is executed in parallel, which means I can't do a remaining whatevers, right? I can't say, here's a list of students. For each of those, make the thing. And then like, cool, when you make the thing, remove that from the list and give me the first person from the list. It doesn't work that way because it runs in parallel. So if you have the core license, you've got 3 parallel trains that are running at once. So this train has no idea when this one is done or what this one is done. None of them have any idea what the other ones are doing. That's why serial executions don't work in this manner. I have been experimenting with a solution that I call parallel processing records. Basically, the idea is it's just a table where there's one column and the column is a number. And it's literally just like 1,000 records or 500 records or whatever number, fill in the blank. But it's literally just a number of records inside this table over there that I can then say, whenever I need to process 50 things, grab me 50 of those records. Now I've got 50 things to chew on inside the app. And then like each thing has its own individual number. And so I can say, cool, you are number whatever the parallel processing record is. Parallel processing records number 26. Cool, you're the 26th thing that's being processed. And so in that way, you can formulate things. You can change your formulas where you can say, do this, taking whatever that number is, like add that number to this. So like the start date plus whatever the parallel processing number is. So it's start date plus 1, plus 26, plus 50, right? And in that way, you can get it to go. I've been messing with it a little bit. There's some really weird stuff that kind of goes on sometimes. It can be a little difficult to get that to work. Usually you have to use the API to do that. Now that pops into my head, Hamlet, that's probably the best option for you. If you're familiar with how to do nested templates, I have videos that show how to do nested templates. And I'm talking about like a start expression where I say, start for me all of the orders, and then start for me all of the line items for the order, and then start for me all of the whatevers for the line items for the orders, right? So if you can master that sort of nested thing in a PDF, I have videos that show how to do that. I think I even have a couple sample apps that walk through it. If you can master that, it's the same mechanisms for doing the same thing in the API, where I say, cool, I need to create all of these records, creating nested start expressions to loop through and get all the various context from the different layers. It's the same thing through the API. It's just you're not creating a PDF, you're creating an API call. But it uses the same start, blah, 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 start this row -1, like all of that stuff's the same through the API. That's probably your best bet, and it'll be lightning fast. Hey, awesome, yeah. If you've got nested expressions under your belt, then yeah, the only thing you've gotta get inside your head then is how does what you know with working with a PDF template, right? Like going to the Google Doc and like setting up all of the stuff, like you know how to do that there. It's just a matter of translating that into the API setup thing. And just to kind of show you a quick little whatever, right? The way that you do that, so if I come back over here to this thread title update, right? So what I'm really talking about is this body thing right here. And like when you're doing a nested, when you're doing like loops with this, the idea is like everything between these square brackets, each one of these things is a row that needs to be made. And so I can do something like this where I say start the related whatevers, you know what I mean? And then for each of those, this section gets repeated. And so like this gives you the ability to where then I can be like, cool, for each of these, do this. And then I can be like, yep, start, you know what I mean? And then like from the related whatevers, like from the related orders, I'm gonna do the related line items, you know what I mean? Like you can keep nesting things like that. That's the method you'll wanna go. You do some crazy advanced things with this API stuff. That looks like all the questions in there. I do appreciate everybody sticking by. Hamlet, thanks for the questions. And thanks for all of the well wishes and everything like that. It's all super nice. I appreciate all of the engagement and everything like that. But that's that. So we're gonna go. All right, everybody, that is all that I've got for this week. I do appreciate everybody sticking around. If you have difficulties getting your context situation going on, if you're following this live stream because you want to create your own AppSheet app with all of this chat stuff going on, any difficulties that you face, let me know so I can create some follow-up videos to help solve all of these problems. Okay, that's it for me. That's all that I've got. Stay happy, stay healthy. Thanks for sticking around. Subscribe if you haven't done that. If you want to support what I do, maybe head on over to patreon.com. I've got some fun stuff that I'm cooking over there. I'll talk about it more in the future. That's it for me, everybody. And remember, when you're working on your AppSheet app and you run into a roadblock, say it with me. Keep calm and AppSheet on!